Caught me off guard, and I have to stand up here and say everything nice because I have to go home with her. I met Cheramie around 2008, I think it was, and she was very politically involved. I led a small organization at the time that wasn't really that political. She convinced me that we needed to be political. I watched her for several months on Facebook before I ever met her, and she's a spitfire. I was impressed with her knowledge, her passion, her determination, so much so that several years later, like I said, I married her. She's not a politician. She's just a everyday person, a mom that wants to see our state be what it was for her children, like it was for us. I think that's what we need. We have a lot of people at the Capitol that are very intelligent, know a lot of things, but they seem to have lost their common sense. That's what Cheramie brings to the table, that and her passion. So I hope y'all think as much of her as I do, and I'm going to let her have it.
He's a little bit taller. Okay, can y'all hear me okay? All right, thank you, Bobby, for the introduction. And that was pretty smart, man. I am a mom, and I am an everyday person. I have 5 children. About 2008, we started seeing a trend in the schools that we didn't like. And several of y'all fought the Common Core fight with us, which is still a fight. But just things started looking totally different. Our kids weren't getting the same education. Things were being taught that shouldn't be taught. So much state testing and not really getting content-wise. So that with the corruption that I was seeing going on in our state around then was when I decided that I needed to get involved and be engaged. I have 5 children. They range in age from 21 down to 10 present here. 2 of them were able to make it tonight. The other ones are in activities or work. So, I, like you said, I wanted to help and do something that would help, like try to remove Common Core and abortion. And there's different issues. There's a lot of people that are one-issue people, and I'm not. I never have been. I believe that there are very important issues, and it's not just one. But I pulled my kids out of school. My youngest 2 have never been to public school. The other ones have, but I pulled them out, and we started homeschooling. And so that's what we did. I believe that a lot of us know that there's a problem, and most of y'all in this room are engaged, and you know what's going on. But I believe there's a problem when just the things around the nation. There are 4 states this last week that legalized abortion, either up to time of delivery or after delivery, and let's wait a few minutes and see how you feel about it. And if you don't really want that child, you can kill it. That's murder. That is murder. There's no way around it. It's straight murder. But it passed in 4 states. There are a lot of people in Jackson that are good people, legislators. There are some true liberty-minded, constitutional, conservative people up there that fight. And there's just not enough. I was telling somebody today that there's no reason why Mississippi, being supposed to be the most conservative state in the union, why we had to fight so hard last week to get heartbeat bills out of chamber, out of committee. If y'all didn't know, last week was the deadline for bills to come out of committees, and if they didn't come out, they were dead. So we fought. We put out a call to action. We were actually at the Capitol, and we were in the House side and the Senate side, and it's like yeah, those that go up there, you know, it's sometimes like a tennis match. And so finally, they got 2 out, and on each side, each chamber, which is good because that means 2 bills are still alive and they're heartbeat bills. But y'all, we had to put out a call to action for like 3 days and get people to call their legislators, text their legislators, email their legislators. We had to go up there and talk to them, you know, different people and stuff. It shouldn't be that hard in the state of Mississippi to get legislation passed to not be able to murder your child. I mean, it just shouldn't.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of other things. I just found this out before I came in, but there is now a bill that survived committee and made it out where they're wanting to increase the charge, and this is not a huge deal except for the fact that it makes no sense, but it made it out of committee just to show you we fought so hard to get a bill that protects life. And we fought that, and now there's a bill to raise the fee for getting married in the state of Mississippi. And that made it out of committee, and I was kind of like, what? It's crazy. This is what we do every year. Miss Laura does it, Sandra, Elva, a lot of y'all. We fight. We watch session. We put out calls to actions. We go up there. We talk to our legislators. We hold them accountable. They don't always like that a lot at all. But it's necessary. That's what we're supposed to do as a people. We're supposed to be engaged in a part of the government going on. I've done this, like I said, for the last 10 years and really hard and heavy for the last 6 or 7. And I just feel like at this time, the Lord put it on my heart that now is the time for me to run, plus several people have asked me to, but now is the time to run, and that I feel like I can make a bigger difference on the inside up there, because, you know, we've done it at grassroots level, which we still will be doing it at grassroots level, obviously. It takes an army to get everything accomplished. But if you have true liberty-minded conservatives up there in Jackson representing, you can get stuff done. And I don't know if y'all have seen so far, but there are a lot that are running this year. And there's a lot that are true constitutionalists, fighters. I mean, the sky's the limit. If everybody gets elected, we can really affect change in Jackson. I'm pro-life. I believe in the Constitution. I don't know if y'all saw, but the administrative asset forfeiture bill that was supposed to be passed, they wanted it passed, Mark Baker authored, which was against the 4th and the 5th and the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. We were able to affect that, and we put the calls to action out. We called them, we talked to them, we went up there, we fought it, and that was killed, which is good. But that bill should really have never even been written and dropped. You know, and even if it had, it shouldn't have even been a process of thought that it would come out of committee. So things like that, there just needs to be common sense in government again. And federal government and state government needs to realize where the line is to, you know, to cut each other off as far as the overreach on families, on moms, on dads. That's why I support parental rights, because I think nobody knows better than a parent when it comes to their children. And with their doctor, they can make good decisions about how to treat their kids and what to do for them. Pro-life, I told y'all that. I like the heartbeat bill, but I'm going to do something a little probably more drastic. When I get elected, I want to introduce an abolition bill that will stop abortion at conception. Because the debate is always, well, they're not alive until they have a heartbeat. Well, my counter is that if it's not alive and living, then it would never have a heartbeat. So you stop that process of that living being with or without a heartbeat from conception. When conception happens, that is it. We shouldn't be allowed to kill our babies. Anyway, so that is one thing that's going to be an interesting take on abortion and put it out there. But I believe it's our job and our duty to stand up for those who can't speak for themselves. And I mean, if you look at it, in the 3 rights, you're guaranteed or supposed to be the right to life, the right to liberty, and to pursuit of happiness. It doesn't say you get happy, but it says the pursuit of it. But right to life is the first thing, and we're not even following that now. So So that's important. I am pro Second Amendment all the way. There's not really much to say on that one except for it says shall not be infringed, and that's where it ends for me. That's the truth of it. I do not like taxes being raised on the people. I am the people. I am one of y'all. District 35 is my district. My opponent, Senator Chris Kaufman, is my opponent. He's not a bad guy. He's actually a really nice guy. But he's just not as engaged. He's not accessible. Like I said, we're up there at the House and the Senate, you know, all the time. And in the last 4 years, I've been unable to get a meeting with him. I can't get him on the phone. I did get a return email the other day, and I'm not sure if that's because I qualified already or what, but that was kind of interesting. But you should be able to access people, especially your elected officials. They are elected, we, they, us, to represent the people of the district. So therefore, in order to know what the people of our district want, we have to be open to hear from them. So that's why I will be accessible on all my literature, my business cards, my cell phone's there. On my website, I have a website. It's votecheramie.com. But and it goes through my platform, what I believe in, and everything, and different approaches to different issues that are really going on right now that are big. If you have any questions about where I stand on anything that may not be listed there or anything that I haven't said, I'm more than welcome to answer those. I'm a fighter. As Bobby said, I am a little bit of a spitfire, I'll be honest with you. I believe we're at a point, and have been for a while, but definitely now, where you have to fight. And you have to stay engaged. Because if you don't, things will happen around you and to your children. And like Common Core, that they slipped that in, and you know, everybody thought it was going to be wonderful, and we fought it, and it wasn't wonderful. And it's still horrible, and we're still trying to repeal it. And yes, I will write legislation to remove that as well. I just want to give my children the same opportunity to grow up in the state that I grew up in. Because the landscape's changed so much since I was a child, so it's different for them now. It's changed since my dad was a child, and it was different when I was growing up from what he was used to. I am a Rankin County resident. I meant to tell you that earlier. I live on the outskirts of Florence. District 35 covers South Rankin County, Simpson, McGee, Mendenhall, Star, Crystal Springs down there, and parts of Copiah. I've got the map down here in case anybody wanted to look at it. I'm going to knock on doors. I'm going around. I'm doing speaking events. I'm accessible. I had 2 people message me last night, I think, asking just questions, or they'll tag me in a post and ask, what do you think about this? I'm going to tell you what I think because, one, I promise y'all to always be honest with you. I believe in true transparency. People say it all the time, but they don't do it. I do. And I always have, and that people that know me have seen that over the years. I will put it out and let people know what's going on, just like, you know, Laura and Sandra does. I mean, it's important to do that. Because sometimes we need an army to make phone calls and do calls to actions and stuff, and y'all don't know how to do that if you're not notified that there's a problem. And everybody's got stuff that they're doing to contribute to society and to the betterment of our state and stuff. So some of us are more politically inclined, so we do that. I will tell you, most people will tell you that this isn't going to be my seat, and this will be your seat, the people's seat, right? Okay, we hear that a lot. I don't really think I've seen but a few politicians that have gone up there, and they were just everyday people too, that actually follow through on that, and they're accessible. And those are, we call them champions at the session and at the Capitol. I'm telling you that this will be our seat, and anything that y'all have concerns about, or any vote or anything, I'll put it out and ask what y'all feel like, what you think. I'm open for talking. Another thing that goes on in Jackson that y'all need to be aware of that I am not going to do, a lot of times they'll throw a bill at people and they don't give them much time to read it. If you can imagine, that does happen here in Jackson. So leadership will tell those people how to vote. A lot of times that's what they do. Leadership will say vote yay, vote nay on this. and that's what they do. That is not who I am. I will not follow leadership unless it's leadership that's actually leading from the front and doing the right thing. I will read the bill. If they give me 20 minutes to read a bill and it's like it would normally be 50, 60, 90 pages, and I don't have time, then my vote on it will be no. Because I am not Nancy Pelosi, and I'm not going to pass it to see what's in it. I don't want to hurt the people in my district. So understand, even if it was a great bill and it was awesome, if I didn't have time to read it, it'll be a no. Now, I'll finish reading it and go from there, and I'll put up a post or do a live or whatever to be transparent to tell you why. But too many times in Jackson and in our national capital, people just vote the way leadership tells them to vote, and there are extra amendments added in they didn't know about. There are secret language in there that nobody knew about, and it may say it's for this, and it may be for that a little bit, but on page 29 or 37, it may be something totally different and include a tax increase for your district or something like that. I will not vote on a bill that I don't have time to read. My theory is if it's a good bill, they would have given me more time to read it. And I have a mind of my own, and that's not being ugly, but I know how to read bills, and you know, it may take me 2 or 3 times to read some of them because they like to make them really, really long and detailed, but I know what I'm reading. And so I'll make notes and I'll look through it and evaluate it. A lot of people don't do that, but that's what I promise you I will do. Because I don't want to pass anything or have my name attached to anything as a yes that comes back and hurts any of our people in our district. Because that's not what I want. I want us to be able to do better. I want y'all to have true accessibility to your senator in District 35. I want you to be able to have full transparency. Everybody talks about it, but they don't do it. If you know me, you know I'll give you full transparency. And then I want y'all to be engaged, which most of y'all here are, but online, there's some that have not yet. We're at the point we really need to engage. It's not always fun. It's not a walk in the park. Did I envision myself running for office 20 years ago? No, I did not. I was on a different path, and then the Lord said, well, this is what we're going to do now. And so this is where we are. And so I'm thankful, and that's just who I am, and that's what I believe in. I'm glad to be here tonight. I'm thankful that y'all invited me to speak. Glad to see the good crowd and all the smiles and the head nods. It means a lot. I would just ask y'all to cover me and my family in prayer, because although my opponent is not a bad guy, he's not. The establishment does like him. So in these situations, campaigns can get a little different, you know, so just cover us with prayer. And I feel good about it. And I feel good about y'all, because the people, like I said, this is our seat, and it's for all of us to have representation and accessibility and all of that. So I guess now that's pretty much, I mean, if you have questions, I'd love to answer them. That's pretty much who I am. Yes, ma'am?
Illegals within the state of Mississippi, do you have a train of thought or a direction in that, your opinions on it?
Are you asking about illegals that literally cross into the state illegally? Or are you asking about the ones that
Both here and that are coming in?
certain leadership allows to come in to our state? Because both of those problems need to be addressed. I don't think, and I'm all for immigrating the right way. I did Hands Up for Hope for a long time in Women's Christian Job Corps, and we taught the, I didn't teach it, but the class to convert, we did it in the curriculum with everything, and to help people get their citizenship, doing it the right way, you know. If you do it the right way, there's no reason they can't come in. I have no problem with illegals coming in, going through the right process, the right procedures, and becoming a citizen of the United States. I have a problem with them crossing illegally, either down on the southern border or our borders. I do have a problem with it, and I believe that with electing people that will fight, we can put a stop to that, because that problem goes a lot higher up, and you have a few, I'm not going to name them right now, but a few different organizations that have their hand in some state situations, and that's gonna have to be cut. But it can be cut. Do I think it can? Absolutely. And it needs to be. Come in the right way, do the right thing, because at that point, it's not, will they do anything wrong? When they crossed over illegally, they broke the law. That's why they're called illegal.
Right.
So, I mean, that's self-explanatory to me, but yes, I don't agree with it. But if they come in properly, I'm fine with it.
If they could come in properly, they're not illegal.
Correct, they're just
So they're
citizens
citizens.
coming over. Immigrants would be better.
Yeah, immigrants.
Yeah, but that would be my stance on that, but I do believe it needs to change. You need to be able to know who's in your state. I mean, that's the problem. You don't know what's coming in, you don't know who they are, you don't know where they're at, you don't know anything like that. So there has to be a way of keeping up with them. There is. We'll work on it when we get up there. There's a lot of things that can be changed about that, in my opinion, especially with, I wasn't trying to go national, but especially with Trump saying how important it is. So that legislation from our Republican president should flow down to state government as well, here and everywhere, in my opinion. Any more questions? Come on. Yes, sir.
Okay, you and Chris Carter are both on the Republican ticket, right?
Sir, I'm sorry.
I said you and Chris are both on the Republican ticket?
We are. We have an August 6th primary.
Any Democrats?
Well, that's interesting. We don't know. The Democratic Party in the state of Mississippi has decided not to put out their list of qualifying candidates till after the March deadline, to cut down on some of the fun political things that happen whenever everybody knows whose candidate is who, and get through the deadline, and then they'll release that. So right now, no, other than the big ones, we know that declare, we don't know anymore. We won't know until March.
But as far as you know, it's just the two of y'all?
It's just the two of us as far as I know, and that's the August 6th primary. And I will say, I mean, it could happen, but in District 35, I can't think of a time that a Democrat has ever run for Senate there. That doesn't mean they won't, but I'm just saying I can't think of a time that they have.
You have, without revealing to Chris Kaufman's people, do you have a strategy? Do you have any ideas about how you'll win the primary?
Well, yeah, I have several, and we're doing a lot of them. I would tell you though, Vince, one of the things is doing what I'm doing right here. Being open, talking to the people, telling them how I feel, what I believe, and what I will do when I get there. And letting them know my name, because I'm going to tell you in the past couple of weeks, talking to people, because I've been talking to people. If I'm in a store in my district or something, and I speak to people and tell them, a lot of people don't know who their senator is in this district. So that's sad. They should know who we are. They should. There's a lot of districts in the state, don't get me wrong, but if you live in the district, you should know who your rep is, House of Rep in Mississippi, and your senator in Mississippi. So, and all I keep hearing is that nobody can get in touch with him. He's not accessible. And so I want to provide that. And I think that is one thing that the people really want to know, that they have somebody that will listen to their concerns and do something with it and not placate it or, not even address it. Okay. I don't really want to go any further as to what else I have, but I can talk to you on the side afterwards.
What you need? What kind of help you need?
Donations. We need donations, because as you know, as a conservative in this state, we don't have all the lobbyists come to us to give donations. And insurance companies and all those things, which not all the donations that go to other people are not good. I'm just saying we don't get that offer. So we have to get it from the people. And donations are important. And I guess this will reveal a little bit. If anybody wants to volunteer to help knock on doors in the next several weeks, that's one thing. Phone calls, sharing. Social media is really big, as y'all all know. I usually have Facebook covered up, but when y'all share around, it gets around to everybody else. When I did the call to action for the abortion clinic that I was going Friday afternoon, a friend of mine in our district shared it on her page and tagged a friend of hers down in Star, which is also my district. This girl lives in Richland, Florence line, and her other friend that she tagged in lives in Star, and so she showed up, her and her family, and her husband and 3 kids, and I got to meet them. They came because it was shared, they wouldn't have known otherwise. So sharing the content, sharing the website, prayer is great, prayer is always good. If I have different events, showing up and just being supporting, because it's nice to see friendly faces in the crowd, I'm just gonna be honest with you. And I'm so glad this was my first speaking engagement, because I'm amongst friends, and that eases everything and makes you feel better. So, yeah, they could do that.
Well, since the primary is in August, it's going to allow you all to hit all these festivals, spring festivals, from now until all the way through the end of July.
Yes,
So
sir.
You'll have those opportunities.
Yes, sir, and we have several of those on the calendar, and so that's what we're gonna do. You're right, there's a lot to do, there's a lot, we're having to watch like all the different, because it's 3 counties, it's a huge district, huge. But there's stuff in every area, so you just gotta find it, take the time to find it, and then go meet the people and talk to them, you know, and it's a ground game, and you have to work it if you want it, if you believe in it, you really have to.
This is just me thinking out loud here, but if no Democrat runs, you have certain things that you could use to try to get those Democratic votes.
I'm still smiling.
I think you'll be able to do that. I don't think there'll be a Democrat running this district.
I don't think there is either. It's just it's a hard district. It's Republican solid. It really is.
But those Democrats, they either won't vote or they'll vote for somebody who
Right.
reaches out to them.
And that's right. And I do expect to probably pull some. I mean, I was contacted last week by a lady that's a Democrat, and she's running for another position. I don't remember, and I'm not going to say her name or anything right now, but she was telling me she called to tell me that she had friends and family down in Copiah, and she was going to get in touch with them and tell them she loved my platform and send them the website and everything. And those kind of things help. And so I'm sure that we'll pull some Dem votes. Definitely. Yes, sir?
You said it's solid Republicans. Our supervisor, first time he ran as a Democrat. Jared Morrison,
Ran as a Dem?
I'm thinking he did.
I thought he's run as a Republican every time.
I think he did, maybe. I thought the first time he ran.
I think you're right. I think he did run the first time as a
Yeah.
Democrat.
Well, he did. He probably did. I'm sitting here thinking he runs as a Republican now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
He probably had an opponent, if I had to guess. That's been a minute ago because he's been in for a while.
I can't remember who.
But I think he had a harder Republican candidate.
He ran against Tom Food.
Oh, well, there you go. So that's probably why he ran for on a Democratic ticket.
Tell us more about your education and where you're from and about you.
Okay, I am. You want my age too?
No. A little young.
I'm not that young. That's what I was going to tell you. I do look young. I'm 39. I'm 39. My education. I am a college graduate. I went to public school. You're not with me. You're not going to get just a ton of degrees laid out at your feet. No law degrees. Personally, I believe we have too many lawyers as legislators, and they can't seem to reach the common everyday people. There's a barrier there, even in how bills are written. So I graduated from Florence High School in Rankin County in 1998. I went to, pretty soon, right after that, to Hines Community College for my prereqs for nursing, and then I went to Hines Nursing Allied for my RN associate degree, and I graduated in 2001. And I did trauma nursing and critical care nursing, and then I did contract nursing after that. When you have kids, it's a little harder to work those things and come home and worry about bringing stuff into the house, or it puts you in a different place. I work at UMC's ER, the adult side, so it's totally different over there. And then I came home from that in 2008 and became a stay-at-home mom and homeschooled. So I have a nursing degree. I don't have a political science degree. I don't have a law degree. I'm not, like I said, not a lawyer. I'm not a president of a bank or a vice president. I'm an everyday person. I do have a degree. I taught myself everything I know in politics. And then a few classes along the way that people have been able to provide. I've done that. But even with not having the law degree or political science degree, I just knew we were in such a mess. And so that's why I started teaching myself everything, watching Session and knowing what was going on and how, you know, they do all kinds of things, crazy things. But knowing what, when they say something, what it means and what they're doing with the bill and stuff like that. I live in Florence. Did I tell you that? Okay. 5 kids. They're great kids. Of course, everybody says that about their kids, but mine are pretty cool. They do American Heritage Girls, which is like Christian version of Girl Scouts. We go to Restoration Church. It's right on the line, Florence. It's more Florence, so we'll just say Florence. Anything else, sir?
I was just wondering if you have any opinions on homeschooling and if you think that they're just, if you had any agenda in that direction.
Do I have any thoughts on homeschooling? Well, I think it's great, but I'm a homeschool mom, and I was blessed with being in a position to be able to come home and do that with my kids. And my mom helps too, so we co-teach and we work together. My mom is an awesome lady. She couldn't be here tonight because my youngest has dance. But anyways, I believe, and you can look at research, Eric, but children that are homeschooled, 9 times out of 10, have higher scores on the ACT and the SAT, and they place better in college. They usually get better scholarships as well. And they are acclimated. As you can see, I can talk to my kids and engage with them. They can carry on, especially the 10-year-old right there will carry on a very long conversation detailed with you. And some things I'm just kind of like, did I teach you that? I mean, you know, but they're very smart. They go to church just every time the doors are open. We keep them involved, and they have friends. They do things. The only thing that I see about homeschool is keeping it as a choice, a school choice. School choice is huge right now because there's so many problems in education right now. That's a whole other issue. But I believe in keeping it a choice and a right for parents to do, people that can do it. I also believe that, you know, charter schools are necessary in certain situations, and public's good, private, you know, to change things up. Some people, not everybody can afford to stay home and homeschool. But my personal opinion is if you can, that's the best route. That's what's worked best for our family. Yes, sir?
Okay, now since you mentioned nursing, tell us about vaccinations.
Okay. I have helped and fought with Mary Jo Perry and Mississippi Parents for Vaccine Rights for years. Every year we get a bill, well, the last several years, a bill, and try to get it out of committee, and it usually gets murdered. But I believe, like I said earlier, parents know what's best for their children. And if they have concerns about the schedule of the shots, I'm not anti-vax at all. As a matter of fact, all of my children are vaccinated. I do not vaccinate for the flu because that is a personal preference as a nurse, and because I have a little bit more knowledge on what viruses actually do with replication and everything. And so the flu shot does not do what they say it does in the long run. So that's the only thing that I don't really vaccinate for. But my children didn't have a reaction, and I didn't see my child seize on the floor afterwards. If I had, I guarantee you it would have been a lot different. When I was younger, we only had the schedule, if I had it in front of me, but it was like this small compared in the 80s compared to it's this many shots now. So by the time it's 42. So by the time that's 5, right? By the time they enter 5K, it's like 42 shots they've received. We didn't receive that many shots. And as a nurse, I know some of the stuff that we're injecting them with, they don't really need. I mean, measles, yeah, all that, people, you know, it's usually mixed in, but I believe it's up to the parents and the doctors. I don't believe the government should have a say in making you or forcing you to inject your children with something when there is given proof that it could be negative or toxic for your children. And some kids can't handle it.
So you would vote for an exemption?
Absolutely.
A medical or religious exemption?
Yes, absolutely. And we have a medical exemption process in the state through the health department. It's just,
You can't get around to it.
you can't get around it. It's really hard. You have to know people, you have to pull favors, you have to get a senator or this one or that one to do it, and then you can get an exemption. But it's really hard. And the ones that do it on their own, they've usually applied 4 or 5 times, I think, to get it. And sometimes they don't even get it then. And that's with the doctor saying vaccines are not safe for this child. So I think that needs to be changed. Absolutely, they should have freedom. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to do away with vaccines and anti-vax and be done with it, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it should be a parent's right. Just another area the government likes to reach over and be involved in our personal lives and our children. Any more? I've answered. Did I answer yours good enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is there anybody here that can vote for you?
Yeah, I think so. Eldon them can. What, yes, sir?
I'll throw one out.
Okay.
Since this carpetbagger's been down here the last 8 years, one of the things I noticed about the senators and the Republicans down here is as soon as session ends, they're gone for the rest of the year. Do you plan on being available 365 days?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the job. I mean, to truly represent the people of my district, I need to be available because how it's supposed to happen is that you do session, you drop the bills that you've written or co-sponsored or whatever, and then you follow the process, and then you discuss it on the floor, you get votes passed, and goes chamber to chamber, and that's the process, and then you go home, but you don't just go home to disengage. I should still be able to pick up the phone and either text or call my representative or senator and be able to get in touch with them if I have a concern. And what you should be doing that off season is staying engaged with your people and writing bills and seeing what's important, what's going on in your district and for the state of Mississippi, because it's important. Usually what's affecting one district a lot of times is affecting other districts because it's a state deal. And that's what we need to do. We need people that will stand up and be accessible. I don't know why you would not need to be accessible. I will be accessible in the off season.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
So, Cheramie, are you saying you would not vote for any tax increases?
No, sir, I will not. There was a vote 2 weeks ago. Lowndes County, I am trying to remember his name, but it doesn't matter. The Lowndes County Senator, there, you should be able to narrow it from there.
Chuck Younger.
Chuck Younger, put forward a proposal, and I'm just going to paraphrase it because it's a crazy bill, but basically it raised their tax in this city, county of Lowndes to 11%. I don't know if y'all saw Danny Bedwell's, he did a live on it, and he's furious because that's a high tax. Well, that was voted on by the whole Senate and the House, and it passed. I mean, my confusion is, why would a District 35, and that's not any of my business, and I will tell you why they would vote on it, but I just shouldn't have a vote, or I shouldn't be in favor of a tax increase in another district that are not our people. You see what I'm saying? That's like me saying, sure, put a tax on them, that's fine. But the reason why they do that is because when they go to put a tax increase in their district for something, if they vote to support other legislators' tax increases, then they'll come back and support theirs. So it's kind of like you scratch my back, I scratch yours, and I don't play that game real well. I don't at all. Yes, sir.
Ultimately, would the people in the county get to vote on it?
I think what they've done is they've told Danny if he can get 2,000 signatures, they will put it on a ballot for the city.
But it does.
But he has to get the 2,000.
That's what I was.
Because it did pass in
Gave
session.
them permission to go through the motion.
Right.
But see, that's another thing. How many people even know that that was even an option to do?
Yeah.
To collect 2,000 signatures in your district and to be able to turn it in for it to go on a ballot initiative, right? To be voted on. A lot of people didn't know that. So, ma'am,
You do know that getting those 2,000 signatures qualified is not as easy
no,
as
I know, it's not.
it seems.
It's not, but no, I will never vote to raise taxes. As a matter of fact, I'd like to decrease taxes. And I think that's what needs to be done. I do not think taxes need to go up anymore. We're about taxed to death as it is.
Tax.
That's what I was saying, yeah, flat tax. I think a flat tax would be perfect. They do it in Tennessee and it works great. So I've been looking at it, the way it's done. My cousin lives there, and it's a great system and a program, and they're happy with it there. So I don't see why we couldn't do it in Mississippi.
Tax-free on the groceries too.
Absolutely. Or else those might go up to 11% at some point. But yes, I'll fight against taxes. I will not vote for that or support it, and I will not ever author legislation to put it out there. Anybody else?
How much you think it'll cost you to run?
Well, consider my opponent, I'm gauging between about 35 to 40,000 is what I'm looking at. But I do believe it can still be won with the same amount of work because we work hard. I mean, those of us that run that are true conservatives, and we know what we've got to do. It's a lot different than what other people have to do when they have tons of money. But we know what we need to do, and we're truly out here trying to get representation for the people. Because, you know, we're tired of not having it, and we want to see things done differently. So that would cover it, but I think it could be done with less, but that would be a pretty comfortable number. Yes, sir.
It's not a main issue, but there is an issue with our flag.
You want to know where I stand on the flag?
Just to hear it, I probably already know.
Okay, I believe that our flag, the Mississippi flag, was voted on in 2001 by the people. I think if anything needs, or if anyone wants something done to change that, and this is me running for a Senate position, I do not believe that the legislature has a right to legislate it, because the people voted on their ballots, and that would circumvent their vote. So if they want to do something about it, they need to put it on a ballot and let the people vote again. But no, I will never, ever support legislation doing anything against the people or to circumvent their votes or anything like that. I'm not in support of that. If they want something done, put it on the ballot.
Well, that would also include cutting money off the universities for not flying.
Agreed. And last session, was it, somebody put forward, and they put one forward this year, but died in committee last week. But it was enforcing, that is on the books, but there is no real teeth to what happens when they don't do it. But there was a thing written that they lose state money if they refuse to fly the state flag. So, but that was killed. So every flag bill that came forward this year in session, good, bad, ugly, they all died in committee this year. But I agree, if they're not gonna uphold what the people's vote and voice was, and they're not gonna put it back on the ballot, and they're gonna continue to try to legislate it, and just decide they're not gonna fly it, yeah, there needs to be penalties there. That I would help and sponsor legislation for. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am?
Do we spend enough money, the state? Would you cut spending?
Absolutely. We spend too much money. But I think the way that, I'm going to go with the federal government. This is live streamed, isn't it? Great. I think the way that money's spent in budgeting, or the lack thereof, is done on a national level as well as a state level, absolutely needs to be revamped. We all have budgets in our homes. we all know where our money needs to go, and we know that if we don't tell our money where to go, it just goes anywhere, and then, you know, we don't have all these different rainy day funds and a general fund and this fund and that fund to pull money and do this with. So I feel like the spending needs to be cut, and it can be cut. There's places to cut it. I've been looking into that, but there's places to make those cuts.
I have someone that's asking, who are you and what are you running for?
My name is Cheramie K. Mitchell, and I'm a Rankin County, Mississippi resident, and I'm running for State Senate in District 35, which is the southern part of Rankin County, and Simpson County, and a portion of Copiah County. That's who I am. Is that their question? Anybody else have any more? Anything, if you have anything. Yes, ma'am.
Cheramie, take your map there and point out the main municipalities that are in your district.
Oh, goodness. Okay, Florence, Mississippi, Mendenhall, McGee.
Show us where they are on the map.
Oh, okay. Florence is right here. Mendenhall's here. Puckett is up here. Can y'all see that? These people behind me can't. Puckett is up here. McGee's right down here. It's in southern Simpson. Then you've got the little areas that do have post offices or some form of LEO or something. And that's Braxton, where's the other one? Delo, Star, and then two other ones that are a little different. They're communities, not municipalities, but Cleary and Clear Branch. And those are different too, because it's a whole like community of people out there. So we can't vote. I live in Clear Branch community, and we can't vote in Florence municipality elections because we're out of the city limits. So anyways, that's another ones that are important. Was that good, Ms. Laura?
Vince, can I say, you talked earlier about the small festivals and everything. We're getting the ones that are in Florence and Mendenhall and McGee. But if anybody knows of any that doesn't get as much publicity, that's a little harder to find out about, please let us know, because we want to hit all of those.
I know at least one, maybe two.
Okay. And if y'all have people that have questions in District 35 that weren't able to come tonight, you can share the video. I'm gonna give y'all some business cards. I think on the push cards, yes, it has my cell number and the website there. They can go to and look at different things, and the same thing on my business cards. And that goes to show y'all a little bit more about accessibility. You know, you can contact me if you have a question, you have a concern. I mean, I'm the candidate. I'll tell you what I think about it, if that's what you want to know, what I would do once elected, and then we can go from there. I thought you had a question, Preston. He almost put his hand up. Anybody else?
Thank you, Cheramie.
Thank y'all. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I'd take this for Cheramie, as I've said many times. You get some points just for running, just for putting your name on the ballot.
Thank you.
So there's a certain number of people that every 4 years run unopposed. I think that's almost a sin. Should be a crime. Because somebody could put their name on the ballot just to give the people who don't like that fella or that girl to somebody, a person to vote for. You know, somebody on the other side. And speaking of that, down where I come from, there's a saying among people that are elected officials. They said, there's two ways to run for political office. One is unopposed, and the other one is scared to death. And so that really is true for people in the Mississippi Senate and House. It's not a lot of money. So it makes you wonder why they like it so much and why they work so hard and spend so much money for it. And there's one reason for this, because they love the power. If y'all didn't know anything, anybody grew up on a farm, you ever heard of an egg-sucking dog? Okay, that really is true. I had to deal with a couple when I was a kid. There's something about a raw egg that when a dog starts eating it, he absolutely, he's an addict. I mean, the dog can become an addict on it, and you just about have to shoot him to get him to stop. There's just no stopping him. And that's the way these guys are. In Jackson, they love the power, they're addicted to it. It's just strange. I've always found it to be strange. But it does exist, and when people like Cheramie get out there and put their name on the ballot, and at least give them a hard run. She actually, I think you have a chance of winning actually down there. And to borrow a phrase from Melanie Sojourner, if you got a good ground game, you know, if you got a lot of people on the ground, because ultimately, dollars can't vote.
Exactly.
It takes people to vote. So anyway,